Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are here to debate on the topic single child is better than multiple children in the family. So, Keman and Ayush will debate in favor of the topic, and Triza and I will debate against the topic. So, let us take 1 minute to ideate.
Hmm?
Can we wait for some time? Some more time.
Yeah. What happened?
No, just
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we go ahead? Do you have more time?
We can start.
We can start. So we are starting, right? Ayush, you want to start or I'll start?
Good.
Okay. Yeah. So today we are gathered to conduct a debate, and we got the motion as single child are better than the multiple children, and we are supporting that motion today. So, in a growing population like of that of India, where there are so many people, and having multiple children are not a good option, and based on the population and the demand in the resources and everything, if we consider, then single child is always a better option in that concern. Second point I have is about the inflation. As day by day the prices of the education or any other thing, like whatever, maybe vegetable or nutritious anything, the inflation is rising, and thus the lifestyle could be very the it could be very bad for the parents to uh, like take care of multiple children rather than have, but it is better when there is a single child. Third, there is a bond like sibling, whatever sibling bond has, but that could be also done through neighbors. Like there can be, could be children in the vicinity as well, or cousins in that case. Or when you don't have a sibling, your parents become sibling. They become young. They play with you, and that is there. Fourth is about disputes. In future, there might be many disputes like property disputes, or so all those things are very avoided, and it is very evident that it has happened many a times. Like we can be like we can be very humankind, but there has been many cases of disputes. Fifth, I would say about pets. When you don't have siblings, you mostly get pets, and then you are very bonded to another life. And yeah, that is another good alternative. And last, I would say, when you have a sibling, your love and resources both gets divided. Maybe the elder person will get so much responsibility to take care of the family that it might be very difficult for their mental health as well. So, considering all this, I feel single child is very bad. Good. Over to Ayush.
Yeah, you spoke very well. I will like to add some more points on, like, more on the narrower part rather than the broad aspect. Like in the day-to-day life, there won't be any comparison if you are a single child. Let's say the younger sibling will always feel some pressure to, like, he has to live up to his or her yeah, elder brother or sister. There will be always some kind of comparison. The younger sibling could feel a little bit pressurized because since his elder brother or sister has done something, he also has to do something. Second point will be you will always get full attention. Like there will be a situation where the parents have to attend both the children's event, and it is not always possible to, like, give emphasis on one child. That times there might be some compromises, and could be parents have to take some tough decisions. If you are a single child, that is never the case. And my third point will be about independence. You always have the free time with you. You can do whatever you want. You are not limited to anything. Even you can build self reliance because you are never dependent on anyone. You have to do your stuff on your own. So, like being a single child, it will help you if to build the self reliance. Yeah.
Yes, over to Teresa.
Okay, Kim.
Fiza, go ahead.
Mm. Okay, so I have 6 points today. The first point would be in your old age, if you have many children, it will be very good for the parent, as the whole responsibility of looking after the parents is not on only on one child, but it is distributed among many. um, Also, when it comes to doing things at home, like you can distribute the duties among many children, but whereas when you're a single child, the whole responsibility is on you, of looking after your parents in their old age, or anything. Second point I would like to state is, blood is thicker than water. Okay, so however close you are to your friends, you can't always rely on them. You need someone who's very close to you, like a sibling. Third point is, you always have someone to play with when you're younger. So, in that case, being a single child wouldn't really be a good point. Um, Fourth point is, it is easier for parents to look after their children. Like if you have multiple children, like of who belong to different age groups, if the child is older than the younger one, then he can look after the younger children. So that is uh, like that will help the parents also to look after their younger children. Also, children, when they look at their siblings, they tend to learn more. Like, for example, if you don't know cycling, you don't really, if you don't know cycling, you look at your elder sibling and you eventually you learn to cycle. But if you're an only child, you don't really have anyone to guide you. Like, so you tend to not know things. And the last point would be, you can always reuse things when you have many siblings. Like there are no many things that get collected in the end. Like for example, clothes. If you can you can always reuse clothes and wear clothes. Like my God. And yeah, that's it on my part. Kim, over to you.
Yeah. Triza has covered most of the points that I wanted to say today. But yeah, I can just emphasize a little more maybe on them. So, firstly, I feel like if you have a sibling, you're rarely bored because you have a partner in every kind of situation. If you want to play, you have a partner to play. And most games require at least two people, like, for example, badminton or something. Just a evening game. So, you have your sibling with you, so you don't have to rely on the availability of anyone else because mostly siblings have similar schedules. They live in the same area. So in terms of that, like your sibling could be very valuable to you. Nextly, siblings provide a lot of academic help. Like the older sibling has already passed through, especially in school where the syllabus is probably the same till like 10th grade. So the elder sibling has all the notes available, all the explanations ready with them to help the younger sibling if in case they need any help. So they provide a lot of insights into the future, even in terms of career, what would be a better choice to make, which stream to choose. They already know it, and they have friends who have experiences in those areas, so they can easily provide their younger siblings with valuable insights. Nextly, like Teresa has said before, there's a well distribution of responsibilities with aged parents, especially if the parent is going through a very maybe a serious illness which requires extreme level of care every minute of the day. Then it could be a lot of pressure on just one person. But if there are a lot of if the parent has more than one child, then there could be a lot of sharing of taking care of the parent. Nextly, I'd say that if there are siblings, then there's a lot of less pressure on the parents as well. Like if the child has gone out to play in the evening, the parent doesn't have to necessarily keep an eye on the child all the time because he or she could be with his siblings and they can take care of each other in terms of that. And nextly, I'd say like multiple children are also emphasized in high profile cases such as inheritance in royal families, because life is very unpredictable, and if in case death occurs to any one of the child, then you have the other children in line for succession. So in such kind of extreme cases, also multiple children are always advisable. Nextly, I'll say that when you live in an environment with your siblings, you learn a lot of personal attributes such as sharing, because the focus is not just on one person. And if we see a lot of times single children who have been raised up with all of that focus and attention on themselves, they sometimes they do not have the ability to think of, they usually think of situations with themselves as the focus or the center of the situation, and they expect people to behave accordingly, keeping them as their first priority. But in case of siblings, they are subjected to a lot of situations wherein they are meant to think about their siblings, and just sharing of resources, I guess, is the major point here. So yeah, they are very well accustomed to such kind of situations, so it helps them when they get out into the world and they have to deal with a lot of more people as well. And yeah, those are all the major points that I wanted to cover up. That's all. Thank you.
Yes. Rebuttal phase.
Yes. Okay, so I have a question for you all, Kemal and Ayush.
Mm.
If a parent has a single child and that child say is has a disability, then who will be looking after the parent after like the child as in will lose its life after a certain period of time, like if you have a disability sometimes the child dies at a very young age. So in that case, don't you feel having multiple children would be a better option for the parent?
Mhm. If we okay, Ayush, do you want to go ahead?
So you go ahead.
Okay, if we also consider like
I'll add later.
okay, yeah,
I'll add to your points.
if we consider in that like it the extreme condition like that, could be also possibilities that the next child can also have certain disease or certain disabilities, right? So if you're having multiple people with the same disability or something like that, it would be more difficult for parents to look after everybody. Ayush.
Yeah, like, taking care of the parents, like it will be, we can have caretakers, but it's not always ideal. But if that is the extreme situation, then I think that is one of the solutions which we can try.
In that case, if there is a disability because of the parents, like then they can also consider the option of adopting a child, right?
uh, but when the child is like disabled, when there is a specially able child, like even that the parent might be like it might be also very traumatizing for the parents in the starting age, right? Like they could, if there was no child also, they would have lived a better life, right? I don't really have any other thing to say on this question.
Okay, I have another question.
Hmm.
Okay, so if say parents have children and they are of the opposite gender, then sometimes according to them, like the girl has to do certain things like groom the house or cook for the family, and the son is treated as royalty in the house. Like the so in that case, wouldn't there be like a sense of like hatred between the siblings?
Yes.
So
uh,
then they might end up hating each other as they grow up.
yes, and this is the same reason why we strongly feel single child is better.
She's even I was like, well,
Sorry,
kept it
sorry,
for
I'm
later.
yeah, okay, fine.
Okay, I can ask something.
Yes.
You all have earlier stated that if you have multiple children, then it could lead to property disputes later. But you can easily tackle such problems using various legal remedies, such as making a will, right, and distributing the property well before the parents' death, and making things very clear between the children. So this is not necessarily like a good enough reason to say that a single child is better. So what would I have to say in respect to that?
Uh, okay, speaking about sharing the wheel of the property, there are also other resources which the parents might have, like jewelry, which could be like or some other resources like I don't really get. Maybe any material which the parents might have, and they won't really go to conduct wheel for every single object, right? And there could be some disputes later on in the.
Yeah, adding to Keman's point, like legally you could have all the documents in place, but there is always uh, the siblings will never be together if there is some legal disputes. So, like, what's the point? Like, one popular example could be like Ambani family, like Mukesh Ambani and Anil Ambani. Mukesh Ambani ended up being successful, and Anil Ambani wasn't that successful, and they are not really in touch. So, like, it doesn't really matter if you have a sibling, but if there is a like a legal dispute, then it's like they never talk to each other.
Yes, correct.
Okay, what about if the last point that I said about unfortunate events such as death occurring, and if this happens to a single child of a parent, then the couple is left being childless. So, what would you like to say on that? Whereas if they had multiple children, then they would have someone or the other to rely upon.
There is always possibility, as Triza mentioned, about adopting in that extreme scenarios like that. Yeah, even
Yeah, even I don't really have any point for this.
But adopting would be like in the earlier stages, right, when the kids are young. But what if like such an event has to occur in the later stages when they are way older, and the children, like a death like in middle age for the child, and the parent is already in the old age. So adopting at this stage would not be a viable option. So what would you all say then?
again, not every even every children who doesn't die will always take care of the parents. Some children like move out quickly and don't really care about their parents. So that is also the scenario in that case also.
Any okay, I'll have one question. Like, what do you have to say about the population point of view? Like, in the growing population like India, like which is the first highest populated country, what do you have to say? Having multiple children, isn't it bad? Because all also we are having a lot of limitations, like job vacancy are less, and like if you consider all those scenarios.
Uh,
Also, like adding to Cayman's question, like China was also facing similar situation, and then they later adopted single child
All
policy.
this.
I'm not saying because of that they are like doing better economically, but still it was one of the factors.
Okay. When we say multiple children, multiple is anything greater than one, right? So if we stick to the least number of multiple children, that is two, there is a famous saying also in India that says "hum do, hamare do." So if we stick to something like that, I don't think there will be a problem with respect to resources, especially in a country like India. China did adopt a policy of one child. I'm aware of that, but they probably had serious issues because of which they found that as a most viable strategy. But yeah, in a country like India, I think two children per couple would not really cause a problem to the economy as such.
Also, there is another country, I'm not sure exactly which, but there the parents, they are more keen on having a single child, but the government insists on them having multiple children, and they get paid for like having more children. Like after every child, they get a certain amount of allowance. So yeah. If everyone ends up having a single child also, then it will affect the population. The population can decrease to like a very high extent.
uh, Ayush, do you have to acknowledge, you have to ask anything?
Mm, No, to answer that, like probably the situation was in cold countries like
Yeah.
Russia or Norway side, Scandinavian countries, where the geographical conditions are not really favorable, and that's why the population of their countries are less compared to comparatively countries like China or India. And so in that scenario, it is for them may be a necessary to have a higher population, but for countries like India and China, I think it's not really viable. And even as Kim mentioned about two children, wouldn't really cause an issue, but basically double of one is two, like, is basically doubling the population indirectly. Like if everyone have two children, then it will make a massive difference.
But what if having a single child, like we know that the population remains stable when the death rate is equal to the birth rate, but having a single child, it might not match the death rate. And so the population pyramid, there will be a disruption in the population pyramid, and it will incline more towards the middle age and the older age. So that will cause like a statistical disruption, right, in the population dynamics. So, and eventually the effects will be seen in the future, where we will have a lesser working population, a more dependent aged population. So there'll be a lot of disruption in terms of the, which will eventually affect the economy of the country as well. So what do you have to say in terms of that?
Yeah. Kevan?
Uh, Considering about death rates, I think it is like if we have proper statistics and proper research made, then it is fine to have. But I don't really have any point to support. Like I don't have any information right now to support it.
Yeah.
Okay, on a lighter note, I will ask another question. So, like you both of you mentioned that the younger sibling could learn from the elder sibling, but it is not always necessarily a good thing. If the elder sibling is in a bad influence and like not a good influence for the younger sibling, he will also learn the bad things from him or her.
Yeah.
But don't you feel that's the responsibility of the parent also to look after their children? Like,
In that scenario, it's easier to for the parent to look after a single child, right, than looking at both of them.
no, I mean like from a young age, if that would be something to do with the ethical side of it, right? The parent had to look after the older child so that the younger one could look at him and get better values.
And so far we considered some families which are like rich and all, like who has property to give, but that there might be also families like parents who are not doing well financially, and having two children will be burden on them because everything is very expensive nowadays, even the education which is free, but then other there are other stuffs to buy for children. So considering all the inflation point of view, don't you all think having one single child is better for a family? Like they can focus on their life, they can go for like for some tours and like have fun in their life rather than having workload of two children. Don't you all feel that is very sensible thing to do?
But as Teresa mentioned earlier, in countries, especially in countries like UK, the parents are given an allowance, right, every month in order to provide well for the child. So I think that can be taken care of if the government is takes the responsibility of it.
Also, if you're extremely poor, like having one child or having two children also would be a burden to you, right? Would you feel the same?
But one child is far better than having two children in that case, right? So which is again supporting the motion.
But if we talk about long term, then again, the two children when they grow up, they can there will be two double, like the streams of income for the family will be doubled, right, as compared to having just one child and burdening him with all the expenses. Like in the future, I'm saying, if we
Yes, yes.
see long term.
But if we consider the long term future point of view, then the parents will also get old and they won't really have any like any like likings to go somewhere, to travel somewhere, to have their own life. Like if I see my parents right now, like I would say that if I was not there, they would have enjoyed, they would have traveled so much, like they would have some money for themselves, right? So if I think in that perspective, like having one children and then enjoying your life with one children is far more easier than having two children, and I support that ideology here.
Yeah, also, adding to Kemon's point, in future maybe it's fine, but at the earlier stage there is high cost of education for educating both the children, and even in case of a medical emergency of one children, it could be very expensive for the family or the parents.
But there are like I mean, there are various kinds of facilities available, right? Like for example, if in case of a medical emergency, there is always a medical insurance that the family could take. In case of education, there is education loans that are available. So if in case the couple does want to have multiple children, then there are like well placed uh, tools in the society that help them to do so. So
Also, if they have multiple children in schools, also like students that are that belong to like EWS, they have like a scheme, like they have scholarships which can also help with the family income, right?
Any questions? Okay, to answer the death rate question which Kim has mentioned, I would say, we have to properly structure. We have to properly understand the case of each country, and like as we have also mentioned about the colder places like Norway and Russia. So I think we'll have to do that. But currently, if we take India's point of view, there's no need to do like death rate is and death rate and birth rate will be equal if there is a single child. There won't be any problem.
Also, Keman, I have another question. Say you are a parent and you have a single child, and the child is always alone, and you can't always be available for the child because of how your work life and everything. So, in that case, wouldn't you want your child to have a sibling? Like sometimes there are cases that single children also can go into depression, and because they don't really have anyone to, look after them.
Yes, to answer that, I would say I would put my child for some activities which the person likes, which my child will like some hobbies, like he might like to go for dancing classes, singing classes, swimming classes. So I'll just make my child go to certain places so that he's occupied and he does not have any free time to go to such scenario. But I'll make sure that anytime when I'm home, like whenever I'm free, I'm just connected to my child, because one child means my whole love will be for that child, right? So this is what I will do if I'm in the same shoes. Yeah, that is it. Any
Yes.
more questions? Let's go ahead with the feedback part.
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions? Any feedbacks? Team start.
Yeah, you can. I was a bit sick here today, so I couldn't really. Uh,
That's fine. That's fine. And
No,
actually,
but you
like,
had points.
you had good points. Yeah. And just to say, like, when there was a moment where you have like supported our side, and after that also you were very normal, which I liked. Like, if I was at a place, I might have been very quiet throughout, but you were back in the game. So I really appreciate that about you. Yeah. Ayush, do you have any feedback for anybody?
I really like Kim's point about the shifting demographics. Like the certain particular age group will be then
Ye-
like there wouldn't be a like proper uh, age group for that particular age. That was a good point. I didn't mention it properly, but I hope you understand.
any other feedback for like a negative feedback also?
Negative feedback. Not really.
Triza, you have any feedback?
yeah, Kim had good points as always. Also, Ayush, you spoke well. Kiman, yeah, you also were good, but there was a mistake between like children and children sometimes. Like,
Yes, yes.
so that's fine, but like just that.
Yes. Yeah. Any other feedback? Or I can go ahead.
Yeah.
Speaking about me, one thing I find which I'm very much lacking at is sentence formations. Like I forget what I'm saying in the middle, and then I just say something else, which I think like I can realize it. Can you realize it? Hello.
I didn't realize while you were speaking, but I like in my scenario I was faced it. Yeah. Like I forget what I was speaking earlier and like tend to speak anything after
Yes,
one
I think that's
particular point.
normal. That happens.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it happens.
Maybe it's because of self pressure. You think much bad things about yourself compared to others. Maybe that is the. And one more thing I don't like about myself is my words are not very clear. Like whenever I'm saying something, they're not. Maybe eventually, as I practice, it will be good. One question which Teresa answer asked about disabled people. Like I don't know why I just said something which did not even make sense. I just said it, and that was actually a tough question. Like I do not have any answer, to be very honest. Kim, from your side, do you all have any answer to that?
About having a disabled child.
Yes, yes. Then having another child would be a good option, right?
Yeah, but again, the expectation, like, the ideology with which you're having children, you also gets a little contradicted, right? You're not, you're having, so basically, it's like we are trying to say that you're having children just so that there's someone to take care of you in the old age. That's the wrong expectation to have
Yeah.
on children.
Yeah.
If they do take care of you, then it's fine, it's great for both the parties. But it's just having children with that kind of a mindset and expectation is not entirely right. I mean, people should have children just for the sake of having children and taking good care of them when they are young,
No.
and just bringing them up well and just thinking well for the child. But bringing them up just with the expectation that it's not like an insurance policy for your old age. I feel children.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's
That's such a good answer, Kim. Really, really appreciate. Nice. Okay, going ahead with feedback, Ayush. Yeah, I like how you start continue from my side. Like you added a good points, and then you gave example about Ambani, which was very nice. Like it showed you mentioned about Scandinavian countries also, which showed you have good knowledge, which was good. Regarding Riza, you add okay. One thing which I also do, like when I end the sentence, I just say "and more," anything, something like that, which I found even you doing. So that is something like when you're ending the sentence, just end it. Don't add something and so on and so many people. I find it somewhere, but I don't remember where it is. Uh, Even I do this. Like it is for mutually both the sides, everybody. To be honest, you used one proverb somewhere like blood is thicker than the
Then water.
water,
yeah,
yes, which was good use.
that was nice.
uh, you have good rebuttal points, not just today's but any other debates. If we consider, you rebut very well, like you ask good questions and put us in tough shoes, which is good. And one thing which I said, foot in the there was one situation where you just supported us, but then after that you were very normal, which I really liked. Speaking about Kim, I don't know how Kim you are so clear with every. You are so good. Really, you are so good. Like even now, we just asked you a question and you gave such a good, brilliant answer. I really like that about you. And
Thank you.
I did not like your start. You could have given more better introduction, because you also have a sibling, something like that. Like when I had, like I used to come from something. If I was in your shoes, I
Yeah.
would have said like when I got a chocolate and I came home, I always made sure that I give half part of it to my sister, which developed a great skills like sharing and loving in me. Something in that manner. You should have done a better introduction. You just started with the points. That's it.
Hmm.
That's it, right? We'll take 1 minute to think from other perspective. Otherwise, do you read a lot, Akeem? Just was very curious about you, because you have so many good points and like very proper words like death rate. Then you said about demographic, as Ayush mentioned. You have good points. Do you read a lot?
Sometimes, I mean, not like regularly, but yeah, sometimes I do read novels and stuff. And I guess I watch also movies in between here and there. So I'd probably pick up a few words.
You seem very knowledgeable whenever you speak. It's really good about you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the thinking from other perspective. Do you need more time?
You can start.
Yeah. Lisa, you would like to start?
Okay. First point is the child gets a lot of attention. Second is when you're alone, you have a lot of time for yourself and you can focus on many hobbies or things you like rather than just fighting with your sibling. Third point is there is no pressure to be better than anyone. Um, yeah.
Yes. Great.
Okay.
Kim?
Um, yeah, I have a few points. Like Ayush has earlier mentioned that when there are a lot of children, they could it could affect the mental health of a few children because of the reduced amount of time and attention that the parents can devote to them individually. So I feel a major reason could also be favoritism. For example, we've seen that the youngest child is always given a lot of attention because he's always, even if the older child is small, the younger child is considered to be younger than him
Mm.
still.
Mm.
So there's a lot of attention given to the younger child, but and in this case the mental health of the older child could be affected because of the less amount of devotion. Nextly, I feel there is if in case of a single child there is no competition for resources. For example, if I want to watch TV, I'll just come and put it on at any time, but remote fights are like a, I mean, the fights for the remote is
Mm.
like a big thing in
Yes.
siblings. So
Yes.
this would not be the case if I was a single child. So yeah, and as Sriza said, there's a lot of confidence in single children. Like you should see them. They walk around like they own the place, and they have all of this confidence full in them. So that might not be the case of like multiple children. And nextly, like I feel like nowadays where the job market is so unpredictable and you don't know, like even after you have all the qualifications you might or might not get a job. Single children have like the financial backing that all of what their parents own, especially the finances, it's all theirs. So they have a lesser mental pressure, I feel, as compared to when in the case where there are multiple children and they know that they will have to work for themselves,
Yes.
and there would be no such kind of a backing. So yeah, and earlier we have said, like Keman has said, that if he had a single child, he'd put him or her for music classes. These classes are pretty expensive. So, and if you put one child, you have to put the other children as well because equality. So then it will be a little too expensive for the parents, and even the time schedule, like dropping off the children to all of these locations, different locations, if at all, would be a problem for the parent. Nextly, I feel like, I mean, most parents are great and they want their children to bond, but there are also some toxic individuals who thrive on like this favoritism and stuff like that, and it could induce a lot of toxicity among their children. And then in the next generation as well, like if the main siblings itself are not bonding, then there's no bond among the cousins as well. So such
Mm.
a valuable relationship is lost. And nextly, I feel like when kids are small, there are a lot of physical fights, so the parents have to deal with all of that irritation initially. So yeah, for the parents, maybe a little. And lastly, I'd say that if there's a single child, then the parent's responsibility is entirely on the child. There's a negative side to it, but the positive side is that that child has all the finances in their hand and they can take care of the parent as per their mentality. Whereas if in case of multiple children, then they might feel like having a nurse is better, but the other child might feel like that is too expensive. So there's a lot of conflict in terms of approach towards taking care of the parents. Whereas in the case of a single child, he or she can do whatever he or she pleases without any kind of disputes. Yeah, that is all.
Yes. Nice points. I'll go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
First is about just examples. I think you all should have given more examples like sharing and uh, another thing I have whenever you have to there's a younger child and he makes some mistake, then he can tell with the elder sibling and before telling parents, and it becomes much easier. uh, then fourth point I would say about coexisting. You learn to coexist with people, maybe sometimes troublesome, but you learn to coexist. And fifth, I have a other approach to this. Like I have mentioned this, like having fights, like small fights, you become very resilient. Like as a sibling, you fight a lot, but on small things. But like maybe remote, as Kim has mentioned. But then you understand that you try fighting. You express something. You express the emotions from the start, and it is good for later. So these are some points.
I have 2 points. Like first, you learn the skill of sharing and not just limiting to giving remote to the remote fights. Not limited to that, but all kind of sharing. And second would be about emotional support. You will have a lifelong, uh, maybe not always the case, but you will have a lifelong emotional support because siblings are mostly in the similar age group. You can share stuff with your siblings which uh, you may not be comfortable sharing with your parents or even sometimes your friends. And like even your friends can give you that support, but they won't be like 24/7 with you, even like in the younger stage at least. Like if you want something at the night, you cannot really call your friend all the time. You will always have a sibling to rely upon. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Let's go to ChatGPT part. Yeah, let's do it, right?
Let's do it. Yeah, there's limited time.
Yeah, yeah, 4 minutes. Yeah. Ayush, would you like to start?
Yeah, I have point from the single child point of view.
Hmm.
So even we are speaking from the children's point of view, but also parents get more time if they have like a single child. Parents can on their own self. And second will be more flexibility to travel and like schedules and everything. And the children also get more privacy if he is a single child. Yeah.
I will. I have from other side, like having empathy, having like you empathize to your sibling. You have good negotiation skills. This is what I meant by saying fights. Like you negotiate. Give me this. I'll give you this. Something which is very a good skill to have. And you have a better family dynamics. Like not a reason to have a children, but when you have many children, you have different personalities, and that might be your good family dynamics. And last point is some traditions like Raksha Bandhan and all. It is easier, but you tie to your sibling, cousins and all, but you have somebody. Yeah, that's it. Triza?
So,
Mm.
um, you have a more peaceful home environment when you're a single child. There's no much noise. sometimes if you see like in families that have a lot of children, like there is a lot of chaos, um, and there is a better financial stability if you're a single child. That is already mentioned, I think. And yeah. Also, if you're a single child, you don't really get to go wherever you want. You're always your parents are always after you,
Mhm.
um, like they won't let you go wherever you want. Whereas if you're like a if you have many siblings, like I feel your parents are more lenient and they let you just be.
Yes, actually, well, true. Team, we have just
So
one
yeah,
minute. Okay?
just
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, just like Teresa mentioned that the parents might not let the child go out. So basically, they are being overprotective because they just have a single child. So that could induce like fear. The child may not be as fearless as he would be compared to multiple siblings. And yeah, another thing is that according to ChatGPT, when there's a single child, the child only interacts with its parents, so there could be a faster maturity in the
Mm.
child. And the only last point I'd say is like when the children grow up and they are teenagers, they might want like a room for themselves and stuff. So when there are multiple children and the house is not, the infrastructure is not possible to do so, then that could be a little bit of inconvenience to everyone in the house. Yeah, that's all.
Yes, that's it. That's our debate, and it was really we covered a lot many points. Yeah. So thank you. I said another link. We'll just join and analyze ourselves. Okay. I stop the
Now,
share. Yeah, yeah. Now, you all have. Is it late for y'all? Y'all want to go for lunch? We can have later also at 2 p.m.
oh, it's fine. We can.
Ayush,
Is that okay now?
Yeah, I'm fine
On
with it.
time?
Ayush,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. It might take maximum 30 minutes. Okay, let's stop this meet. Okay.